Your thumb is behind this post, so I could not see you. Hey, everybody. I guess we're live. I have a little light in front of me, which means that camera's on. Good to see you. Thanks for being here today. We're going to do a live stream today where we talk about some old projects. We're going to go through, I don't know, any of them that you have questions about that we can bring up here. Talk about some maybe stuff that you don't know about the projects. If there's anything that needs fixing, we're going to try to fix some stuff. So if you've got questions, just in general, if you've got questions, go ahead and put them in the chat so we can handle those. But also, if you've got any old projects, I like to make stuff projects that you would like to see, maybe get an update on, let me know. Also in the chat, and we will try to get to those. Do we want to start that? Somebody want to grab one? The whole team is here today.
Hi.
Everybody is
hey guys.
back there answering comments and stuff.
You want to do a theme of stuff?
We sure.
You do helmets or S words or other stuff? What do you want to do?
Yeah, let's start with swords. That's probably something that a lot of people are.
The most popular sword for last.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Ooh. Okay. So last week did the new lightsaber, right? Luke's lightsaber. This was the original lightsaber. This was, I don't even remember how long ago this was. This was a long time ago.
It's been a minute.
This is the original lightsaber I made. It's all 3D printed, and it's full of electronics. It's got a speaker in the end of it. And I remember at the time doing this, like, there weren't a lot of other, I mean, I'm sure there were some 3D printed lightsabers, but not a lot. So I had to figure out electronics, piece it together that could fit in here. Now there's some really fantastic things you can get to just, you know, put inside of a hilt. I had to figure out how to make a glowing blade before you could just buy them easily. And one thing that everybody always got on to me about was the tip of this thing, because I took an acrylic tube, I frosted it, I put some frosting on the inside of it, and then I just 3D printed a clear cap to go like on this end, because this was like an afterthought. I was focused on the lights, getting the buttons to do what they were supposed to do, getting all of the electronics to work, and so I didn't even think about, you know, like trying to round this end over or do anything like that. But man, people told me in the comments that I should. So anyway, that's the original lightsaber. Looks pretty terrible now in hindsight, but at the time, you know, it was something totally new for me. So that's one thing. Let's see, we've got some other swords here. Let me swap these out. This one was not on YouTube. If you're an 80s person like myself, you probably recognize this. I think we did this on Twitch. We used to live stream on Twitch every week. And this is He-Man's power sword. And I've always kind of wanted to redo this on YouTube and just do it differently. This is all foam. But after I did this, I think Punished Props, if I remember correctly, they did a really fantastic version of this. Maybe them, maybe somebody else. But after that, I was like, well, you know, it's been done super well. I can't compete with that. So I never did it. But I do have this. I did make the shield, He-Man's shield, on YouTube. And that was the first step, and then the sword was the second step. So anyway, that's that. We did the Demon Blood sword from Adventure Time pretty recently, this year. And I ran into lots of problems trying to do the fiberglass for this. So that was a big learning experience. Also got yelled at quite a bit for putting Demon Blood in the title, even though that's the name of the thing in the show. But you know, people don't have context; they just got upset. So anyway, there's that one. So we have a few swords, and then the one that I think most people wanted to see, thank you, sir, is the Katana. And this thing, I still love this thing. This was a spur of the moment, like, I don't know, let's make a katana, because I had all this hardwood flooring. And so I used that, and I was watching at the time Alex Steel make his actual katana. It was like legit forged, you know, steel katana. And I knew I wasn't going to do that, but it was this was like a way to take that idea and just do it in a medium that I was comfortable with. And this was a lot of fun. It was, like I said, spur of the moment. It went together pretty quickly, within a few days. And I looked recently, this is the most watched video on the I Like to Make Stuff channel by like a significant margin, which is pretty crazy. But this is a cool one. I like this one a lot. Do we have anything that anybody wants to see? I think that's all the swords. I guess we have the Darksaber, but yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's another lightsaber.
It's a pretty cool shirt you got there, Bo.
Oh, thanks. Oh yeah, you can get this at shop.ILikeToMakeStuff.com. You know. deal. On the Darksaber. So I kind of got lucky on the Darksaber because I wanted to make this before it got popular, before it even showed up on The Mandalorian, if I remember correctly. And because I had watched Rebels, Star Wars Rebels, and I wanted to see this, like wanted to make it in real life. And then it just happened to show up on Mandalorian, which,
That was sticking awesome.
you know, added some stuff to it. What?
When that happened.
Yeah, it was like, oh, I accidentally made a good choice. But yeah, so this thing was cool. Oh, it still works. The batteries are still good. That's surprising. Yeah, so the outer edge here, glows. It doesn't have all the little crinkly lightning stuff in it like the actual one does, but still pretty cool. Oh, yeah, here's another Star Wars weapon. This was another one of those, like, we'll give it a shot and see how well it turns out with very little reference before The Mandalorian came out. I had a toy, a 6-inch Black Series Mandalorian figure. And so it had this rifle, like really tiny, before the show came out. And so I used that and like the one picture of it in the trailer. Or, I don't know, there was one picture of it that was released. And so I made this based on those things. And it held up pretty well. Like even with more reference, it ended up looking, I think, pretty close.
I think we did a really good job.
Yeah. And one of my favorite parts about this thing, the hilt, I think, is really cool. Or the butt, I guess you would call that, not the hilt. I like that it's solid wood. But I think this, the bluing effect on here, I was really proud of because it was all airbrush, like multicolor mixture, and it was not something I had any idea about. I was figuring it out as I went along, and I think it turned out pretty good. It doesn't look real, but it looks like the show, which is good enough,
About YouTube didn't like us making
Oh, yeah, we called this the rifle
Rifle.
first, and yeah, you get in trouble if you make a video that's called rifle. So blaster is the thing you got to put. Even if you're making a Nerf thing, you got to call it blaster, not like a Nerf gun.
Megan, any questions?
Oh, the moving camera. Somebody's asking about the moving camera. So we have a little a handheld gimbal. Is it a DJI? Yeah, DJI.
I can make it move.
And so with the software that we're using for the stream, Anthony can actually just like drag the picture around. It connects to the gimbal, and so we have a phone on the gimbal, and he can move it around.
And you can also pick it up.
Somebody asked about the Daredevil weapon. We got that in here still. It's kind of busted, but I'll show you what happened. We picked it up this morning, and it's been broken for a while, but
One of the favorite things that we made.
Yeah. It looks really cool closed up. One of the problems, though, with the 3D printed, I think now if we were to reprint this, we would do it in a stronger material, and this probably wouldn't have been an issue.
Yeah,
but at the
I
time,
made that as a 3D print in my house, and
Yeah.
it works fine as a 3D print. But
Yeah.
that's a lot of torque.
and I think what happened was it was like this. It fell down and then started to crack within the layer lines, and then I think this part is maybe that won't come off. Yeah, but basically the threaded parts are stuck together, and it cracked out of here. So
That was a special thread, though.
yeah, so it kind of looks like that. So this part just broke off of that inside. And then the cable, I guess we took the cable out or something? I don't really remember. It's been a long time because a lot of this stuff, we do it and then we put it aside because we don't have anything else to do with it. So we hung this one up on the wall kind of like vertically, and I think it fell down and caused a crack in there.
But this may become popular again.
That's right. Yeah, with Daredevil coming back, maybe that'll be...
Update.
Hey, Smuggler's Room, thanks for that. You're awesome. If you guys don't follow Smuggler's Room, you should, because Brian and his wife are fantastic and they make awesome stuff. We've worked with him before on our big Star Wars console. I've learned a lot from him. He's just a cool dude as well.
All right, we got some questions coming up.
That's
What's
Megan, by the way. In case you don't know Megan, that's Megan.
Hi, I'm
She's
Megan.
our producer.
What's up with the Gia? Any progress?
that's a funny question there. So the Gia, here. All right. So the Gia, last video we did about the Gia was beginning to do the metal work, and pretty soon after that, I don't remember exactly when that was, but after that, this is the long story. Okay, hang on just a second. So after that, my wife was driving my Land Cruiser, just driving it from one place to the other, and some seal failed somewhere in the engine. It dumped all the oil, and before we knew what was happening, it froze the engine up. Not her fault, it was the car's fault, but it froze the engine, like it seized, like hard seized. Killed the engine in the Land Cruiser, and so that was in June, I think. And because since then, I bought a new engine, I'm waiting on a machine shop to rebuild it, so I still don't have a car. And because of that, I have not been out to the farm to work on the Ghia until a couple of days ago. So from June, July until like the very end of September, no progress had been made at all. In fact, I got out there and the whole thing was full of spiders and it was bad. But the other day, I actually spent the afternoon, started working on the opposite side. I finished up the side that in the last video. So I'm getting back to it, but getting out there to work on it is really difficult until I get my car back. Plus, like my family, the last few months, we've had a lot of soccer. We've got kids and tons of activities, so we've just been very busy. So it will happen, but nothing has really happened on it yet. What else we got?
Another one?
Yeah.
How is the rock wall at the farm doing?
That's good. While I was out there the other day, kids were climbing on it. It's holding up just fine. We had some friends that live out there come over and their kids were climbing on it, had a great time. And one of my sons climbed underneath it inside as a joke. And I was like, hey man, watch out for the spiders, because I pointed that out in the video that like the inside's gonna fill up with spiders. And it absolutely did. So he came running out of there covered in spider webs. I told you. But he said he didn't actually see any spiders, lots of webs. So, yeah. Whoa, I saw Megan on screen for a second. Oh, you moved the thing over there. Cool. Anybody else want to ask about a prop, anything, or a project we could go over, or do we have more questions?
What has been a project that if you could go back and change anything in it, update it, what would it be?
Ooh, man. Oh, gosh. I feel like there's probably a lot. That lightsaber, I haven't really looked at that in, like, years, probably. And looking at it now, I really kind of want to go back and recreate that, like do it better. Not, I don't know, just do it better. Oh man, pretty much everything I could look at and say I want to go back and do it better. That's a hard one to answer, because the answer is all of them, I guess. Yeah, I can't think of a specific answer to that. All of them. What else we got?
Multiple times today, you guys.
All right, let's look at some helmets.
Helmets, okay. Mike said he wanted to play Minecraft with us.
Ooh.
All you gotta do is join the Maker Alliance, and then you can get whitelisted on the Minecraft server and come hang out with us, because, you know. Oh, here's a helmet. Anybody remember Batman versus Superman? Not a great movie, but pretty cool helmet. This one has LEDs in it. There's probably no batteries in it. That's funny, because most of these things that had batteries, either the batteries are dead or they just don't have batteries in them anymore. This thing was very frustrating to make, because I had to make it 3 or 4 times. I don't remember exactly, getting the shape right. And then when I finally got the shape right, then I realized that if I messed up any of the finishing type stuff, I was gonna have to start over and do it again. But, you know, in the end, for being made out of foam, this is all like floor mats. It's all EVA foam. And for that material, I think it actually turned out pretty good. It's really uncomfortable to wear, because I didn't want it to look super bulky. And so I tried to make it as tight as possible to my head. And that makes it so that when you push this over your brow, this entire nose section part just like mashes in the front of your face. It's pretty terrible.
Put it on.
No, thank you. I don't want to put it on. But that's one helmet. Oh, yeah, there's the battery pack. Oh, it does have batteries in it. But the wire's broken. So that's one thing I could fix. I'm not gonna, but I could. Let's see. Oh, here's one that, okay, so a lot of people don't like this one. This is the Blue Spirit from Avatar. And the thing that I don't like, I half like this one. The thing I don't like about it is how it looks like this. But that's not actually how it's supposed to look. When you put it on, it looks like that. Which, I don't know if that's a big difference on camera, but the shape of it being super flat, like the nose becomes super flat when it's not bent, and then as it goes around your head, the shape of the nose and stuff changes, the profile changes, and that's what it was supposed to be, more like this looking. But then, you know, in the video, when it's not on, it just looks different. There was another guy, and I don't remember his name. There was another guy that made this out of wood, the same mask, and he did a fantastic job. I don't remember the process. I think it was all just hand carved. But it was amazing. And it was, I don't remember if it was right before or right after this, but it was fantastic. So if you like this character or, you know, avatar, you should definitely go check that out. This is another one that I'm actually really proud of, not because it's perfect, not because it's exact or even correct, but this was the only, as far as I can remember, this is the only 3D printed helmet that I modeled from scratch. Everything else has been, you know, buying a model or modifying another model or something. This was how I learned fusion, and I probably learned it the wrong way doing this, but I modeled this from nothing, and, you know, looking at reference photos and stuff from the movie. And so I'm really proud of that, just that I got from nothing to something that's pretty close to the movie. It's not exact. There's like a lot of problems, like all of these kind of eye pouch shapes are wrong. Some of the details on the sides have the relationships are wrong between the different things. But if you stand back and look at it, you know what it is. It's close enough. So when I made the full suit of armor for this character, I bought a set of files, and so I could compare that guy's helmet to this helmet, and so there was one helmet that
Whoopsies.
It was
now is broken. But when you compare them, like, you can see that this one is not right, but without the more exact one next to it, it looks pretty good. You know, I'm pretty happy with it. So I like this one a lot, just from the experience of doing it more than the result, I guess. But yeah. Dan, that's right. Dan was the big one. That was a lot of Twitch stream stuff where we like 3D printed the entire costume and did a lot of finishing and painting and all that type of stuff on Twitch. Back in the day, we used to Twitch stream every week. All right, what else we got? Got some more questions or anything?
Yes. Why do we use Fusion 360 and not Shaper 3D?
Say that again? Sorry.
Why do we use Fusion 360 and not Shaper 3D?
That's an interesting way to pose a question. This is not supposed to be negative. But there are a million different options for choosing something. So choosing between two of them, why one over the other, there's no particular reason. I've never used Shaper, so I don't have a reason not to use that one. We chose Fusion. Like, it has its own merits, I guess is what I'm saying. We chose Fusion because we ended up finding that it was a fantastic replacement for multiple things. Like, for me, I started out in SketchUp, and one of the most frustrating things about SketchUp to me was it's got its place. People love it. I'm not trying to dog on it, but for me, I built our original arcade cabinet in SketchUp, and then I needed to make some changes so that we could make our first set of plans. And I remember having to go back to that arcade cabinet, and the changes I wanted to make were not easily made to the model that I had, and I effectively had to start over on the model. And not being super proficient in SketchUp, that was a lot of work, and I had to backtrack really far. And so the parametric nature of Fusion makes it so that you can build a model with, like, parameters, which are placeholders for numbers, basically. So you can say, I want this thing to be this wide, and instead of actually making it this wide, you can say, I want it to be as wide as this name. That name can have a number that you can change. And so if you change the number, the model goes boop, 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 and it changes. It reacts. And so remaking that same project in Fusion would have made it so that I could have more easily made adjustments. It's totally possible in SketchUp, but we kept finding that Fusion had things like that. Well, it does this better for this purpose, and it does this thing over here better for that purpose. And it just ended up being a good one-stop shop. One thing to learn, even though the learning curve is kind of steep. one thing to learn to do a lot of different things. So that's how we ended up on Fusion.
I got another question over here.
Okay.
Sam, one of our good friends, he asked what project tripped the saw stop blade that is behind you.
That's a good question.
You know, I don't know the answer to that question. I remember it happening, and it wasn't even like I feel like it was a brad nail or something.
It's like
it
not
a brad nail?
exciting.
It happened when I wasn't here. I wasn't in the shop when it happened.
I'm
Josh
pretty.
would have let it happen.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was I was cutting a reused piece of material and I didn't realize there was a brad nail in it or something like that. It wasn't my hand. I wasn't anywhere close to it, and I don't remember.
There was the time we set it off doing finger joints. You can tell that story. On the data stack, remember that?
I don't remember that.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that either.
You weren't here. Well, you were using I'll talk loudly so you can hear me. You were using the finger joint jig,
Yeah.
which is made out of aluminum.
Right.
And we were both like really nervous that we might set off the thing, and you made your first cut, and but then for somehow magically it didn't ruin your data stack.
Oh.
Like we pulled the brake out, and it was fine.
Wow. I don't
the
remember
brake
that at all.
was ruined, but the data stack was fine.
Yeah.
You don't remember that?
No, I don't.
I remember that plain as day.
I believe you, but I don't remember it.
We have a lot of people asking about the soap head.
Oh my goodness.
Where is that soap head?
This thing is gross, but it's
Like you said, soap.
it's gross. So we had this up in the bathroom for a while, and then the batteries died or something, or
you
got
want me to
clogged.
tell it?
Sure, tell the story.
I have to get closer. Where's the microphone? Do you
right
have it?
Yeah.
So this is the 3D printed soap head, and this was an idea because we went out to California to Matter Hackers, and then we got 3D scans of both of our heads, and I thought it would be funny. And I wanted to do this without showing you. And it was, again, a Fusion project, just like the helmet was. But we took it into Fusion, and I cut it in half and made all the interior guts for like an automatic soap dispenser that I took out. And so in here there's like hoses and stuff routed, and it shoots soap out of the nose. But the soap, not anymore. And there was like an advance and whatever. There's buttons on your neck.
Gross.
But the soap that we put in here was green, and it had like pumice in it.
Yeah.
And so it would get clogged a lot. And so it would like do nothing, and it would like shoot out soap snot rockets, and then eventually it just kind of stopped because I think the soap was too thick.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Some really
it worked.
watered down
and
soap
this
would be good.
was a Fusion project for me, and it's got like hangers to hang on the wall. But this was pretty fun to do. Just in this as like a test to see if it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we redid that bathroom, and I was kind of happy to take it out of that bathroom. Yeah. So this was another helmet. This was for PUBG. We did an actual welding helmet, so it has like a welding lens in there. Actually, I should have used this last night. I was teaching Forby and his wife how to weld a little bit of stuff, and they did this awesome project on their own last night. I should have used this as one of the welding helmets. I didn't even think about that. Anyway, so yeah,
I have a
that's
question from Make Shape Create.
Oh, hey there.
Yes. You have the He-Man Power Sword and Shield. Have you thought about making the battle axe?
I have, but I haven't done it yet.
Only thought about it.
Yeah.
Do we want to remind people we were nominated for an Emmy? We want to do an Emmy?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
We gotta talk
yeah.
I don't
about
know.
that
If,
first.
I don't know if a lot of people even know this
Well,
because we didn't. I intentionally didn't publicize this a lot, but we did a video. Was that last year? Yeah, I guess it was last year.
It's for 2020,
2 years ago.
but it was pushed.
So we did a video about making action props, and we did a bunch of different action props that you would use if you were making a movie, you know, like stunt props. And so at the end of that, we did a little fun cinematic sequence where we used a lot of them, and then we submitted that video to the daytime Emmys, and then we got selected. So we didn't win the Emmy because This Old House is awesome, but we did get, what's the word? Nominated, that's the word I'm looking for. So we got nominated for an Emmy. But some of the things that we did in that video, sure. This was a crowbar, and so we did a cast of the crowbar, an actual crowbar, and then we built like a little armature into this thing, and so it's black rubber, I guess, but it has like a...
Well, it's clear. We did a cold cast.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it is clear. But it's got like a piece of metal inside of it, a little wire, so that we could, I could act like I was real strong and like bend it down or whatever. So we did that,
It was fun to form
and then we did
shape.
this one. This was cool. This turned out way better than I thought. We made a mold, like a mold box, and put a concrete block in it, and then we poured silicone all over it, and then we filled that, which was kind of a pain, but then we filled that mold with this expanding foam stuff, and we didn't do any finishing work. This is like straight out of the mold. It just happened to take enough dust and everything from the original concrete block, all the texture, so that it looks legit. Even up close, like the coloring and everything.
Wasn't it like a self-skinning foam, so that's why it's
Yeah.
got that good texture on there.
And then the back, where this was the top of the mold, you can see,
Ran out.
yeah, we didn't have enough to fill it all the way up. But then this is the part that was not up against the mold, and it has a different texture to it, different skin and everything. But so we have this like legit looking thing that doesn't weigh very much. So yeah. And then in our little short film thing, we modified the barrel. Oh, this is torn. We did the same thing with the crowbar on the barrel of this gun so that I could grab the thing and bend it down. I don't want to bend it again because it's going to break, but yeah. So this was Josh's. So we ruined it. And then,
super broken.
and then like you threw it or something and it like broke?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, you threw it. It's in the video.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
I don't know what camera.
That
to look
camera
at,
right there. Yeah.
but it's mega broken. And like this piece,
Oh, I forgot that
yeah,
just like,
it kind of worked.
yeah.
It worked enough for movie magic, and
Sure.
that was kind of the point.
That was the point.
And the Academy of Arts or whatever thought it worked as well too.
One of the hardest things in that video was we did what's that stuff called? Smash plastic. It's like a sugar bottle type thing or sugar glass. It wasn't actually sugar glass, but it's a smashable, like a breakable plastic. And so you had to make a mold of Coke bottles, and then we had to try to fill these up with this thin stuff and like spin it around and coat the outside of it because they had to be hollow. You had to do that, let it cure, and then take it out of the mold without cracking it. Oh, we installed the molds. That's cool. Oh my gosh. So we had these mold sleeves, and then we would put a bottle in the sleeve, like hard plastic sleeves. Put a bottle in there and then pour silicone over it, let that cure, take it out, take a knife and cut like a scallop in it so that it would go back together. And then take the bottle out, and then when you put it all back together, like this, you've got a mold of a bottle. So you'd pour this plastic stuff down in here, slosh it around, get it coated. Then you'd have to take it back out of this hole without breaking it. But it was made to be broken, so we broke more than we didn't. Broke a lot of them. And it's not cheap material either.
And then we hit you in the face with it, and I think we broke skin, didn't we?
Yeah, I think like somewhere up in here I had
cut you with
something.
Smash plastic that wasn't supposed to hurt you.
That's the take that made it into the video too.
Yeah.
Better than real glass, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you watch the video, when Bob gets hit in the face, his glasses come off, and then they're magically on his face again in the next shot.
Somebody said scar? No, I don't know if they're talking about that or not, but I did not have a scar.
Do some Savannah projects.
Savannah projects.
Still
Oh
a quick
man.
question before we get to some Savannah projects.
questions.
Colin from Keen Eye Creators, are there any projects here that you started shooting for video but did not release?
There is, I think, in the history there is one project that we've started and not released. I can only think of one, and it's around here somewhere. And I've talked about this on Making It before on the podcast, but this is one that I've seen other people do it. It's doable. I don't know what my deal is, but I could not get this thing to work. I wanted to make a Frisbee launcher. And the way that, there's a couple different ways that people do it. There's one that has like 2 flywheels, and then you feed it in, and then the wheels, like spin it at different speeds so it spins one direction. But the more common way is that people make this like little, there's a center spinning wheel, and then there's a track that goes around. And so when you put the Frisbee in, this spinning wheel grabs it, takes it down the track, and starts the spin and shoots it out. People have done this like many times. And so I was trying to make that, and I could never get it to go more than like 2 or 3 feet. It was just like, poof. And we worked on it. We had this big Harbor Freight angle grinder, like the biggest one they make, it's massive, to try to get all of the RPM and everything, and just wouldn't do it. So finally set it aside, and I was like, I'll come back to it. And that was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago or something.
So definitely not coming
Never
back.
came back to it.
I got another one
Okay.
from Hamilton. They said, love the Making It side table project. Have you thought about doing something similar with your team members?
Ooh, I have not thought about that. That's an interesting idea.
That is an interesting idea.
I have not, to answer your question, until just now. Yeah. What else we got?
What would your version of Crunch Labs be called? That's fun.
I don't.
Crunchy or Labs?
Crunchy Labs. I don't know. Squishy Labs?
We should
Squish
totally
Labs.
come
That's
up
it.
with a
Squish
good
Labs.
name.
Yeah.
How's R2D2 doing?
R2 is good. He's still up in our dining room, up in the main part of our house. I thought about bringing him down for today, but it's a lot of work to get him down here. So
Bring a camera up to him.
that's true. I was trying to show somebody recently. I don't remember. Somebody was visiting, and I was trying to drive him around a little bit. And so I got the two remotes out. They'd been charging. I turned them on, and they would not connect. And I got really confused and then distracted from whoever the guest was. Didn't pay attention to him because I was trying to figure this thing out. And I never got it to work. So there's something disconnected or somewhere. So he's currently out of commission, but he's fine, doing fine. I say hi to him every morning when I go to get my coffee because my coffee pot's right here and then R2D2's right there. I'm like, hey, buddy. Yeah. Here's a couple things from Savannah. These are old school. Made a yo-yo on the lathe. I think it was like one of my first lathe projects, maybe. It was the first time I used the laser on anything too, and I had no idea what I was doing, and that's why I was like super charred in there. But now that I'm looking at this, it did work. Like it yowed, but I can see that these two sides of the butterfly are not at the same angle. Like they're not coplanar. One of them is tilted a little bit, which would definitely mess up, like I bet this won't go straight. It's going like, yeah. So that'd be kind of a fun thing to redo and do it really precisely. Or do it on the metal lathe and have a metal yo-yo out of like some crazy metal. Vibranium or titanium or something. Yeah, so that was one. This was taking a Nerf blaster and I put a battery pack down here. So you have some LEDs down in there. Whoa, apparently they blink. And then just like painted. This was one of the first things I painted to weather ever. And it was more of just learning how to do that as well than actually doing anything with the Nerf blaster. But then I also used this stuff called epoxy sculpt to actually do some sculpting, like this whole shape and then some of the shape down here on the butt. I don't really remember exactly what all I did to it, but I remember like it was the first time that I modified something by sculpting on top of it and weathering it and everything. And it still works. Didn't change anything about its function. There's a couple of really old school ones. If you were around there, then you've been around for a long time. What else we got?
Got lots of questions about the Great Guitar Build-Off coming up. Do you have any plans, any thoughts?
I would actually like to talk about that because I would like some. I don't want to steal your ideas, but like I've thought a little bit about this. So they send you this guitar kit, and it's awesome because it has like a nice looking neck with an uncut headstock, and then a big blank with all of the pockets for all of the hardware and electronics and everything already cut into it. But it's a rectangular blank, and I don't have like the one guitar that I made was one that I always wanted. I love the shape of it, and I always wanted to have that guitar, and so it was easy to say, well, I'm going to make that shape. This one, I don't have another thing that I want to see that doesn't already exist or that I don't have or something, and so I'm not really sure where to start, and I keep wanting to just like find some weird material and mix it in with the wood, but I don't have a clear thing forward. So if somebody has like a really cool idea, let me know. That'd be cool. I see somebody asking about, does Rob still use the B-bender? I have not seen him use it in a while, but Rob's work is like in Like he releases stuff when it's ready to be released. So sometimes it'll be a few months between videos, and then he'll just do them when they're ready. So I haven't seen him play the B-bender or the shovel, for that matter, in a long time. Yeah, I should check with him about that.
Forby's got Boba Fett out here.
Yeah.
So
here's the guitar that I made before from scratch. I didn't make the neck, but I made the body. And this was based off the shape is a Fender Starcaster. Used to be a really hard guitar to find. Now they've got like a Squier version of it, so you can get a less expensive one. But for a long time, through like all of the 80s and 90s, they didn't make a lot of them. It was hard to find, so I always kind of wanted one. And so when we went to make guitars for the build-off, Josh made a bass. And I wanted to make this because I wanted the challenge of not just cutting the profile, but also making a semi-hollow body. So I had to make the body in this shape, cut it in half. Well, I actually kind of made the top and the bottom separately. And then hollowed out the inside so that it is semi-hollow on the inside. And one of the things that, like, it's turned out great. I'm super proud of the guitar and everything. But one of the most frustrating things about this to me is when you look at the top. This section down here, I don't know that you can really see it from here, but this bottom section is a different color cherry. The grain's going differently. It just doesn't match as well as these two, and that's because I made that top panel, and then when I put on the templates that I made for these sound holes, I put them on, the template had both holes, and I put it on upside down. So this hole was here, and this hole was here. And so I marked them, I cut them out, I got it all like sanded, it was done, and then I looked at it, stepped back and looked at it, and I'm like, I ruined that top with all the shaping and everything. And so I ended up having to make a new blank for the top panel. Made sure I put the template in the right places and then recut those holes. But that's always really bothered me because otherwise, I think this wood's beautiful, and the other top was more of, it wasn't one piece, but it looked more uniform across the three pieces and stuff. But yeah, I really like this thing. I don't play it very often, but I do really like it. And then this other one, this was a refinishing job that I did. This guitar, this is a Music Master, a Fender Music Master. It's like a student guitar. It's not a nice guitar, but it's from, I think this one was a 72 when I got it. I got this my second year of college, and I took it home. It had a clear coat on it that was all crackly and stuff. I took it back to college. I stripped it and I spray painted it with Rattle Can, and it was bright orange with a white racing stripe on it. And I played it through college in the band that I was in at the time. And then eventually I stopped playing, so I sold this or something to my friend Dave. And then when we moved back here, he brought it over one time and was like, you know what, I never play this guitar anymore. I want you to have it back, which was really, really cool. So I got the guitar back, and then I stripped off all that old paint, and I went through the process of like doing like a good finishing job. Good for me. Other people have different opinions about how to finish a guitar, but I really liked the process of doing this kind of sunburst. And it's the second one I've done. I did this to a Mustang that I have as well. But you know, doing that kind of sunburst, it's a lot easier than you might think to get a decent result. But so did that, and then I changed the pickup setup, added a secondary pickup and stuff. So that was fun. I like that one. But as far as the build-off, like I don't know if I should try to replicate another guitar that already exists, or if I should just do something totally. It's hard to come up with a new design for a guitar. There have been so many of them, and once you start getting really angular, they all kind of look the same. Once you start getting really curvy, they all kind of look the same. So I don't know.
Banjo guitar.
A
Banjo guitar?
banjitar.
I was telling them yesterday I should just take the big rectangle and just round over the corners just a little bit, and then put the neck on it. Be done. It'd be a terrible guitar to play. But
Someone suggested a Millennium Falcon guitar.
I've seen a bass like
Yeah,
that
been a
before.
Millennium Falcon bass.
Yeah, but maybe there is a Star Wars shape that would be fun,
I mean, that would be cool.
like Jar Jar's head with a guitar neck sticking out of the top of his head.
You can make his tongue come out, and it'll be a whammy bar.
Call it the Misa.
Bah!
Misa Boogie. Get it?
The Misa
Misa Boogie.
I got that.
Yeah, thank you.
That was good. Do you watch YouTube in your free time, and what do you like to watch?
Ooh, that's a good question. No. I really don't. We don't watch a lot of YouTube. So my wife and I will sit down at the end of the night, and we usually have like some series, a comedy series or something we're trying to go through. And occasionally we'll watch YouTube. If I ever sit down there and actively watch it, I'm watching Wild, Wonderful Off-Grid. We watch them all the time because they're just really cool. And I watch every slow-mo guy's video, most Alex Steele videos, and then like I've got a bunch of friends who make videos and I watch them too because I want to watch my friends. I mean, Alec is a friend as well, but I watched his before I even knew him. Like, I just love the way he makes videos. So, but really, that's it. I mean, I don't watch a lot of YouTube, and a lot of people will ask me about, well, why'd you make this thing that so-and-so made recently? And I had no idea that they made it because I don't really go looking it up. I have watched a lot of Land Cruiser stuff and a lot of car stuff over the last couple of years to fix things. And then I've ended up finding, there's a guy named CT. He goes by CT, and he's in Florida, and he has been redoing a Carmen Ghia, but he also he's redoing 10 or 12 cars at the same time. It's crazy. I don't know how he does it. So I've ended up watching a lot of his videos, even though I don't necessarily care about the cars, but he's figuring the whole thing out. He's figuring out all this restoration just kind of like I am. So on his Carmen Ghia, he's 6 months or a year ahead of me in that process. So the stuff that I'm watching him do now is stuff that I'm going to have to do, next year or whatever. And so that's been really cool. And he's real easygoing and, just kind of figuring that out. So that's pretty much what I watch. Have I ever considered doing a dancing fountain? Oh, Chris Fix. Yes. Chris is great. I don't watch everything, but I always go there if I need to figure something out. I need to fix something. I watched one of his about replacing a starter recently just to see if there was anything that if it was more complicated than I thought it was. It's not. It's really easy. But, yeah, Chris is great. The dancing fountain, I don't know what a dancing fountain is. What's the dancing
Like
fountain?
with water? Like from Bellagio?
Oh.
That'd be cool.
I don't know where I would put that.
I have a pool.
Huh. We could put it in our kitchen on our counter, like on the island. So it just has a moat of water around the outside of the counter, and it just shoots water from one side to the other. And if it misses, it's a huge mess. No, I've never considered that. Yeah.
Who on the team has the best D&D character?
Oh, man.
This is the easiest question that anybody could get.
Go on.
Okay, who do you think has the best D&D
I do.
character?
It's definitely
Of course.
Josh.
Everybody's going to say themselves.
No, it's
No, I think Josh does.
yeah, no.
His is, I mean,
It's
his
objectively.
backstory, everything.
Draxwick is the mightiest of all of our characters.
That doesn't mean it's the best. Mightiest is not best.
I mean,
He is tested. He is proven.
He's played a lot more than everybody else,
That's fact.
for sure.
Draxwick wins.
Yeah, sure.
all right.
Mini Bellagio fountain in your front yard. Absolutely. Cool. What else we got?
All right. You got the thing right there.
The thing right there. Oh, yeah. So this is another one I really like that I was showing off to somebody recently. We took it, so the Maker Alliance, this is Optimus Prime's ion blaster. It's not a gun, it's an ion blaster. The Maker Alliance created a summer camp and like a weekend event where they all hung out and did all sorts of stuff, and we brought some of the props and everything. And it was really funny bringing this to where some kids were that don't necessarily have the context for like 80s. Like my kids know what 80s stuff is because I force it on them and like you're going to watch these things that I watched and whatever. But not every kid has any idea what this stuff is. And so I was trying to explain what this was to a bunch of kids, and they were like, well, we've heard of Transformers, and that's about it. So, Yeah, this is Optimus Prime's blaster. There's a pizza here?
No.
That's awesome.
Wesley.
Did Wes do that, or did
No.
one of you do that?
Okay.
Okay.
We did.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you.
Oh, wait a minute. What?
Yeah.
There's
Did he
actual
do it?
pizza here.
Yes.
So I'm sure it's been in the chat, but just in case we haven't covered it, one time in Savannah, like this is more than 5 years ago, I don't know when, Geeksmithing, who's in the chat, Wes, is a friend of ours, and while I was live streaming on Twitch, he ordered pizza and had it delivered to my house. And the door for my garage, it didn't have a garage door, it had like a person door. And it was right, like if this is my space, the door was right here, and I was streaming to the camera and everything. And I get a knock on the door, and I'm like trying to ignore it because I'm in the middle of a stream. I think it's like a package or something. So finally I go to answer the door, and they're delivering a pizza. And so I brought in the pizza, and I ate a pizza on the live stream. And then it became this whole joke for years to come about pizza and the live stream. That's where that came from. Wes, who's awesome.
Pizza.
This thing,
Pizza.
though, all of the electronics for this are in the barrel part here. And so I have a battery bank, which has never been charged since I put it in here way back. And it still works, or did still work. Yep, still works. And so basically you just plug in the USB for the battery bank there, and then there's a couple little buttons here that do sounds and lights. So you have a couple blaster sounds and lights that flash. And then this is just the transform, I guess. Yeah, so. Yeah, and all of the electronics, there's a little Arduino Mini or something. There's a soundboard and an amplifier. And it's all running off a 5-volt power bank, which is pretty fantastic. And then there's a diffuser down here at the end. So there's only a few LEDs. I think there's maybe a NeoPixel ring. Oh, no, it's just a little strip around the outside. I forgot how I did that. But so it's not very many, but then this diffuser down here on the end kind of makes it look like there's more. The turkey's here. This thing's also so big that it comes apart easily, and I'm always afraid I'm going to break it. So somebody was asking about Anthony's hand turkey. You can switch over to this one. So Josh and I did a build-off type thing for Halloween, for Thanksgiving. 3 years ago? 4 years ago? Long time ago? I don't know. Long time ago. And so off camera, Anthony was making something for the build-off, and he made this
They used to have legs.
disgusting little hand turkey with my face on it and a little pilgrim hat, and it had legs. Yeah, the legs were like spindly and stuck out at weird angles like this. It was really, really funny. But yeah, so if anybody wants this, you can have it because I don't want anybody else anymore. I'm just
Send
kidding.
that check to Anthony at.
Yeah. And then for another one, when we made the guitars, he made an electric cowbell. Does this still work?
No, it's dead. Unfortunately,
Yeah, it's just a button that plays a cowbell sound.
most of the time.
It did at one point. He did that, and then let's see. This was oh man, I totally forgot about this. One of my something fell off. One of my very first I'm gonna say nicer wood projects, but more complex wood projects was making a stand for my old iPad so that I could take payments at a maker fair, or not a maker fair, some sort of thing. I was selling stuff that I had made at the time, and I wanted to make a little point of sale system, and so I made it so that you could take this face off. It was all cut to match with the little camera hole there, and you could put a card reader in the side and swipe and stuff like that. But this was way back, way back. That's pretty funny. And there hasn't been an iPad that fits in that since. And then this one is hilarious. It's starting to yellow a little bit, but we made a rolling pin with epoxy, and it had a 3D printed, the little spiral thing on the inside of it is 3D printed. And I remember we tried to figure out for a long time the best way to cast this or to fill it. And we had a bunch of different designs for the interior part, so that as you roll it, it would have a different effect. We were trying to get that kind of effect, but we had a bunch of different geometries on the inside to try different things. But we didn't actually want to pour them all because the epoxy was so expensive. And so this is the one that we ended up with. And it's one of those things where at the time, people were like, well, you shouldn't use that on food because it's epoxy and that can, contaminate your food. Which is true until it fully cures. Once anything fully cures, it's technically food safe. But this was more about, we never actually used this. This was more about just the idea of it rather than needing a rolling pin. You could just like take a dowel rod, you've got a rolling pin. So that was that. That was a fun one. Then most of these, this is a good example of most of these, as soon as we're done with them, they go on a shelf or somewhere, and then they just like never get touched again. This was a Bluetooth speaker I made to look like Soundwave, and we used it day of and never again, which is kind of a bummer. But I just don't really need it, It was more just because it was an interesting thing to try. But there's a speaker behind this. This is a like speaker cloth. So it ends up being pretty loud. It sounds pretty good. And there's just a little Bluetooth module on the inside to turn this into a speaker. But I like looking at it. I don't really care that it's a speaker. It just kind of needed a thing at the time. But anyway, this is one of the things that I forgot about because I was making a list recently of projects, stuff that we want to show off at the office. So we're working on this way to display some of this old stuff at our office building. And this is one I totally forgot about. So glad somebody pulled it out because I think it looks really cool. It's super dusty.
This was a CNC 3D printing, laser cutting. This was everything.
Yeah, this was everything. Foam. There's foam on it. Oh man. Okay.
It's 8 years ago.
8 years ago?
Wow.
This one?
Yeah.
Good grief. Wow. Okay. So this was in Savannah as well. In fact, this has the old version of the logo on it. That's funny. And this is a longboard that I made out of like scraps that I got. So I went when I first started doing woodworking. A friend of mine named Jen, somebody in her family passed away. I don't remember. It was like an uncle or something. And he was a cabinet maker. And so she said, "We're cleaning out his shed. Come over and get wood if you want it, because it's all going to get thrown away, burned, or whatever." So he said shed. I'm thinking there's like a little shed. He was like a cabinet maker at work, and then he brought everything that he didn't use at work home, and then he had like 5 or 6 sheds full of material. And some of them they weren't weatherproofed very well. So he had beautiful plywood that was like soggy on one end and just drooping down, totally useless, like you couldn't do anything with it. So I ended up pulling out a bunch of hardwood that I found that was still usable, and I got a lathe from him, like an old Craftsman lathe that Wes has, yeah, and a few other things I don't remember. But this was the first time I had like big piece of maple. It was a giant piece of maple like that. That's 3/4 inch thick, and I cut it in half to put the stripe down it of another dark wood. I don't know what that is, mahogany or something.
Probably teak.
No, it's not teak. I didn't get all the teak until after this. Yeah. But this was all stuff that like I just got for free from somebody that was going to get burned, and so I decided to turn it into a longboard. And it's like a cruising board, not like a flexi board. I did that later too. I made a plywood board, longboard for my wife, and it was the first time I had used a vacuum bag or press, or I guess it was a bag, not a press. And that was a learning experience.
So watching you make these,
Yeah.
I made some in my own shop.
Oh, yeah?
You knew me, and I sold a couple of them
Oh, that's awesome.
based on your product.
That's cool. I can see that these plies are coming apart, so I didn't do a great job, but this was a long time ago as well. So my wife used to do roller derby, and her roller derby name was Hello Kidney, so I made her a longboard with her name on the bottom of it. And yeah, she rode this a lot down our street in Savannah, and it was pretty cool. Worked fine. It's delaminating a little bit now, but
Jonathan Ransom asked, remember when everyone used to ask you to make an electric skateboard like every week?
Do you remember that box of stuff that we have amassed to make an electric skateboard?
I do.
That's right over
At
there.
that time, yeah, when people used to ask for an electric skateboard all the time, there were not very many of them out there, and I started getting together the parts. I got battery pack, a motor controller, a motor that would work in there. I was going to figure out how to machine the gear so that I could direct drive rather than belt drive a motor. Or maybe it was belt drive. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. But I got most of the pieces, and then just like I got so irritated with people asking for something all the time, and I was like, I just don't have time to get to it. And then eventually James Bruton did a really good one. Other people did them, and it was like, well, no need for me to do it as well. So I have a box of parts that now are probably outdated and not efficient and not the thing you would use for that. But anyway, anything else that somebody wants to see? Is there?
Here, we can answer some questions if you want to eat some pizza.
Sure.
So, Megan.
I'll eat a piece of pizza.
Yes.
I guess I can turn my mic off though, right?
Sure.
What?
I just turn my mic off?
Yeah,
Was I gonna
you
mess
can turn
anything
your
up?
mic
Okay.
I mean, I'm gonna be a little selfish here. People are asking about my couch table, and
Oh,
if,
yeah.
and if
I like
it
how we
was
can be
doing
like
well.
commentators now on
We
this
really
whole
are
thing.
commentators. It's like there's a game.
Thanks,
happening.
Bob.
Right back to you. My couch table's great.
Oh, that's really crooked.
It's literally perfect and does everything I need it to. So
How did you feel whenever you approached us with the idea and we said, yes, that's a great idea, but you're going to be making it?
yeah, at first I was like, not a fan, 0 out of 10. But it was also because I'd never made anything before, so I was a little nervous. But I had never felt so encouraged, and like it was just a great experience. And I don't know, I'm really proud of it. Every time somebody new comes to my house, I'm look, I made this table. Do you see how cool it is? And they're like legitimately impressed. So thanks.
Well, you did a great job.
Thank you.
And has it stood up to the abuse that your toddler has given it?
Oh, absolutely, yes. But he does. So we 3D printed those little discs to put down inside of the cup holders just to make sure that all cups would fit. And he likes to play with those. So all of them now live behind the couch where I can't get to them. But it has stood the test of toddler life. We've had a lot of questions about your secret office.
About my secret office?
Yes, about the secret door into the secret office with the secret door.
It is amazing, and I use it every day. My wife used to teach class in the morning online to kids, and that was pretty much her office. But one of my kids knows how to get in because they pulled the shelf off the wall, and it had the vase in it that has the little micro switch. So there was like a wire dangling and a shelf hanging off the wall, or the little flower pot, whatever, hanging off the wall. He said, "What's that?"
It's your oldest?
Yeah.
Ah.
So I just swear him to secrecy. But the lock and everything still works. It is where I keep all of like my grown-up treasures that I don't want my kids to destroy. All of my guitars and basses are down there, so if I need to practice music, that's where I go. I absolutely love that I have a secret office in my house. And then right outside the secret office is the Murphy bed, which anytime people come and hang out or stay at my house, they sleep on the Murphy bed. Like it all flows together. And then in my oldest son's room around the corner, we have the windows.
Yep, somebody asked about those too.
The light up fake windows, which I didn't understand how much of a difference that was going to make in a basement room.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of crazy when I go in there and I like, oh yeah, these are fake, and we made these.
They
So,
do look too real.
Yeah, and When Geeks Craft actually made a huge, beautiful stained glass portrait.
Oh, it
And
looks
they
so
took
good.
a lit panel just like we had in there and put it behind it and to highlight the stained glass. It looks fantastic. They did a great job.
Yep.
Speaking of,
Mike.
Bob says, speaking of, and then he choked on a piece of pepperoni.
It's embarrassing.
All right, you can probably hear me. Speaking of When Geeks Craft, we commissioned them to do a piece of artwork. I'm just, saying that out loud in front of millions and millions of people to remind them that I would still like to pay them to do artwork for us. That's all.
Yeah.
All right, turn my mic back off.
How is the bathroom remodel holding up?
Which one? We've done a bunch. I
Pick
just
one.
peed in the one over here, and it's the experience was top notch.
That's good. I mean, honestly, we really should have 10 out of 10 experiences
I
in
mean, well,
bathrooms.
it's weird though because this is Bob's house, but for the longest time we worked out of this area, and so the bathroom, the like gas station bathroom, was a disgusting bathroom.
I wasn't
Like,
here for that, and I'm
it
kind of
was
glad.
it was gross, but it worked. It did what you needed to do in there. I mean, but
It was
now
like paint and stuff.
We
It's not
need
like
to do-
Yeah.
it was neglected enough.
and the time that Bob renovated that bathroom was also right around the time that we got the office building. So all of my energy was over the office building. So like, I never saw the new bathroom. So anytime I come back over to the shop, I'm like, man, this is a nice room.
Nope.
From bad to very bad. How is Bob as a boss?
From bad to very bad. What is
No comment.
I
What a
don't know,
scale.
but that's so. Come on, Blue Tape Projects. He's great. So bad. Just kidding.
like the good kind of bad.
Yeah, the
like
good.
90s bad.
Like
Like
bad.
you're right above Cowabunga.
I'll take that.
I like Cowabunga.
You're always asking about projects at my house.
Yes. How's your concrete countertop?
Very concretey.
Very concrete.
No, they're great.
Okay.
Yeah, he's coming around.
Swapping
I'm coming around so I can be on the mic.
Yeah.
They're awesome. They're pretty much done. In fact, we're finishing the cabinetry pretty much this week. So we have drawers and stuff now. But the countertops have the outlets in them that we mentioned where you push it, it pops up. They're sitting flush. It looks really nice.
It does.
And now we can have like 40 crock pots going at once. So.
So many crock pots. You have meatballs for days.
Good old Baptist potluck. So,
And how's your cabinetry coming?
very good.
He's building all of his cabinets.
Thanks to a video by ILikeToMakeStuff
What do you know?
that I shot. But yeah, it's funny. I actually go back and reference that video for my own cabinet building. But yeah, we're very close to the end.
Awesome.
Okay, somebody asked, been watching since it was just Bob on screen doing everything. 4B before you take a bite, because 4B's here too. How does the crew know each other, and what made the rest of the crew decide to join ILikeToMakeStuff? So,
Started off for me, for sure.
so there's Bob, and then 4B came on to edit and do stuff. So there's a microphone and there's a camera.
Hey.
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 I knew Bob when I was in college in Savannah, and yeah, we had a similar friend group, and it was just kind of helping out with, I don't know, where do I
You're doing great.
Right there.
It's pretty wide.
You have to keep moving. That's the thing. The whole time.
V your legs up.
Yeah. It was just, hey, I need a logo. Hey, I need a website. Hey, I need edit help, and it just kind of grew from there. It started as a blog before it was a YouTube thing. So that was way a long time ago.
Eons.
Yeah.
You two are old.
Megan and I weren't even.
Yeah.
You are too. Anyway, Josh, how did you join the team? Where did you come from?
Bob and I knew each other from the internet, just like all of you know Bob from the internet. He lived down the road from me in Georgia. And the Nerf blaster, Bob, that you had, that little one, the one you were talking about over there, whenever I came to your shop for the first time, you had just finished that project.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was
Crazy.
the first time that you and I had met in person. And then he came back here. I moved up my family into an RV that we renovated and traveled around the country and just came here to hang out with a friend. And he had just moved in and needed a lot of help doing stuff. And I had the opportunity to help doing stuff. And it's just kind of amassed. And then, like, as everything has grown, we've needed more capability to do things. And then Anthony came on because there was need. And then Megan came on because there was need, and I'm sure that whenever we level up yet again, there will be more need, but that's how there's 5 of us instead of that one beardless guy making dust collection stuff in the first video that I saw.
I do want to note really fast, you mentioned that he finished that Nerf blaster right before you walked into his shop. And there's been a lot of people in the comments who have commented on different things that we've brought up today, saying that's where I started, that's what brought me in, that's why I stuck around. So that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Anthony, how'd you join this crazy team?
I found Bob's address and I showed up here.
Oh,
and
God.
told me to leave.
Don't
do
say
that. Don't do that.
No, that's a joke. I basically was listening to Making It one day, and I could tell that Bob was in need of somebody. So I just kind of reached out on a whim, and the timing was really good. And I was contracting as a video creator at the time, working with clients, doing, corporate stuff and some small commercial gigs and things like that. But I also had a full-time job, which was absolutely miserable at the time. So I was trying to find a way out. So yeah, I reached out to Bob because he kind of expressed the need, and they checked my stuff out online, and everything fell into place. I don't know. I came in as a contractor for a day, and the next day Bob's like, "You're hired full-time." So that's how much of a need there was. But I say that.
When he showed up, we're like, yo, he's tall. And we're like, think of all of the step stool money that we can save. Reaching up into these rafters. We're like, I think we should do this.
That's actually how I've gotten like 90% of my jobs.
You're
You're tall. You can reach
So
things on the
tall.
top shelf. But yeah, there was like Josh was saying, there was a need, and my criteria at the time fit the need. The timing was right. But all I'd say, don't bombard Bob's inbox with things asking.
Yeah, I get those emails, and I have job security. So when you're like, oh, I have all of these criteria and all these skills that, like, I have, like, you gotta come up with something unique. Like, I'm really good at making slushies and
Oh,
Ooh.
dank
hired
memes and stuff. Like, there's a certain set of skills that we don't advertise, but if I get that random email that hits all of the unspoken things, then maybe you got a shot. But if it's like, I'm good at project managing and building stuff, like, yeah, so are we. Get out of here.
Slushies.
On
My
the flip
job.
side, I didn't make stuff, so that's why they hired me, because
It's true.
didn't make anything.
Yeah,
that
there's
was
no
a,
rhyme.
that was a bad joke. Is Megan required to grow a beard soon? No.
You should try it.
I did say somebody earlier was commenting on how great your hair looked today.
Oh my gosh, thank you. It is blue now. My hair is blue. So, anyway, thank you. Thank you for commenting on my hair. Bob,
Yes.
how was the Plinko table, your third of the Making It table?
It turned out pretty well. I saw several people were asking about who has that table, what's happening with it. Jimmy took it back with him to New York, and we're going to be sending it to Sam, who is a friend of ours, who's
Yep.
been, like, he came to all three of
Oh, is
our...
that Sam that came to the thing?
Yeah,
Sam.
Came from California to Louisville.
So if anybody listened to the Making a Podcast with you guys at the Louisville Maker Fair,
Yes.
that's because of Sam.
Sam recorded it on his phone.
He recorded it on his phone because none of the recording equipment that we had set up worked. So
Yeah.
good at you, Sam.
Yeah.
Yes, follow him.
Good guy.
He's cool.
He's a big supporter of us, and so we're giving him a table that he may or may not want. I don't know.
Okay,
If he wants it, he can have it.
You're good. Who is and how are you doing the 3D renderings at the beginning of your recent builds? So that's a combination of skills that a bunch of people possess. So
Yeah.
we'll usually, like Bob talked about earlier, Fusion 360, which we sell our online course, which is a fantastic course. Plug. We will make all of our projects in Fusion 360, and then we will export that usually out to Blender or straight into After Effects, and either Anthony or Forby will take that and we'll set up the shot beforehand, or like, oh, you'll talk about it, and then we'll just like leave a big space, and then we'll make it float all around and animate it. So it's 3D modeling is cool. Like, besides getting cut lists and doing all your stuff, you can make dope renders and all kinds of other things. So check out Fusion 360 because I know somebody was talking about Shaper. Like, we don't really model on iPads. I model on my computer. Fusion can do all of the things, CNCs and 3D printing, cool renders. Like, it checks all of our boxes, and so we don't really go out looking for a replacement because we don't really need to. It's not that we have. I actually do own stock in Autodesk, but that's not the reason. But like, it's because it works for us, and it works really well.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to some stuff from the shop. There is something fun, I believe, next.
This was a fun project.
What? Oh. I was like, what are we talking about here?
That's you, Bob.
Okay, so it was the first Christmas that Josh was around, I think. Just a few months. Like, he might not have been full-time yet.
That was in 2000. It had to have been 2017.
Yeah.
Both of these upcoming projects were like early.
Oh, yeah.
You and me and you.
So this is covered with dust. This is the candy cane launcher, which is basically just a slingshot. But this slingshot pad, which I don't know if you can see that or not, goes down inside of this. So we would feed the string down. We could hook it on the backside with a slingshot, kind of cocked and ready to go. Then we could fill up this entire tube with Christmas decorations and then slingshot them at a tree to put it on the tree. But we had to test it in here a lot. And I was telling Josh the other day, there are still small green Christmas balls over there by where the Bridgeport lives now,
Yep.
like that just never got cleaned up. And this thing was surprisingly difficult to make work, at least as well as we wanted it to, to get it to actually shoot them. But it ended up working out pretty well. These purple things are exercise bands, like the elastic bands that people use, for exercise stuff.
Whoa.
And so they produce the bounce. You hook that in there and pull it all the way down and fill it up and shoot it. So that was a fun one. And then this other one.
This is, if you're doing.
Oh my lord!
Oh boy, everything's broken.
Anthony has dropped more things than anybody else today.
Because people keep firing me and I'm retaliating.
Oof.
We did. Was this for somebody?
No, so okay.
What was the
some
story here?
backstory? Is that you had a deal with Lowe's and Grant Thompson to go do an escape room,
That's right.
but you had never done an escape room before.
That's right.
I love escape rooms, and I was like, ooh boy, besides sweeping floors and moving boxes, I have something to add here. And so Lowe's sponsored that to make something that would be in an escape room.
That's right.
And so the two of us worked together, and that was my first collaboration, I guess, working together project with you was that one there.
And so this was a puzzle for an escape room. And so this globe has, you can see it has a little screen right here. Inside this, there's a bunch of electronics, and we had to cut this thing in half, which is a funny story in and of itself. But we cut this thing in half, and we mounted magnets in certain parts and certain locations. And so there was a whole story where you had to answer questions, figure out what location, and then you had pieces. And when you put them on those locations, I guess the switches were on the inside, and you were putting a magnet on, like a reed switch. And so you would make connections, and once you made all the connections, it would turn off a timer that was running on this, or it would give you a code or something, and the code was used down here to open this. It was like an escape room game. It was a lot of fun. But I went to cut this thing in half on the bandsaw, and it's cardboard, right? Globes are usually cardboard. And there's a seam right down the middle that's usually covered up by a piece of tape. And so I was trying to cut through that and holding this big globe on a bandsaw, and the blade goes in one direction on a bandsaw, right? So I was trying to steady it, and the blade caught it and just started spinning this globe. So I'm holding a globe as it's spinning. It's not cutting through, it just is catching it and dragging it. So we had to change our approach. It was a really funny moment because this thing got away from me.
Oh, yeah.
But once we got it in half, you open it up and there's a bunch of electronics inside. So
There's magnets and reed switches. I don't know where the little pieces are. Remember, we 3D printed little pieces
probably
that
in
have
here.
magnets in it. And so I made, I don't remember the code. We had to watch the video to find the code.
yeah.
But there's a drawer that pops open. So you take the pieces, and I made
I
a
don't know
little
what
narrative
code is it,
about where the pieces need to go. You put the piece on the geographical place on the globe, and then once you put all of them, the little segmented thing gives a code, and then it opens up the drawer. And it
Somebody should go watch the video and then tell us what the code is.
There you go. So we've been going for an hour and a half. We want to wrap this up.
Yep.
I don't want to drag it out.
So why did we talk about all of these projects?
So we talked about all these projects because a lot of them, not all of them, are going to be used in an upcoming display type thing that we're working on at the office, because I want to be able to get this stuff out of my dusty basement and put it on display just so that we can, along with other stuff that, not just stuff I've made or we've made, but stuff that we like to look at. So we're trying to make the office appealing, a place that's inspiring and all that stuff. And so part of it is taking the history here, putting it there, and then adding some other stuff as well. But that's coming up in a few weeks. I had something that I was going to ask everybody. What was it? I was going to ask for your feedback on something. I have no idea. I thought of it while you
Talked
guys
about
were
the
answering
guitar.
questions. Talked about the
feedback
guitar.
about the guitar.
I don't know. Whatever. Yeah, I don't know what it was.
Good job.
There was something that I wanted your input on.
Oh, people were asking about the ocean table because it was in the thumbnail.
The ocean. Oh, yeah. So what we were talking about doing today, one of the things.
That was.
So it's not technically clickbait.
Yeah, it's not clickbait. So when we moved from Savannah to Kentucky, that table, I had to take it apart because it just took up a lot of space. It was heavy. It was very top heavy to move. And so I had to break apart not break, but disassemble the stand for it And when we moved, I didn't have a place for it in the house, so we never put it back together. So it's just been like in a pile over there, covered in dust. And so we were talking about today, if we had time, trying to reassemble that and maybe even polish the top, because it's got some scratches from being moved and all that type of stuff. But we haven't done that. I still don't have a place for it. I guess we could take it to the office and put it somewhere, but I just need to reassemble the stand and clean it up, I guess. So that's where that's at, in case you're curious.
It looks cool.
It looks more like the moon than the ocean.
Ooh.
No.
Rebrand.
Yep.
Someone says the code is 201.
Oh, let's try
I don't know
that.
if that's true
Okay,
or not.
try it. We have to try it.
That was my door number. Wait, hold on.
All right,
What if it's real?
201. Thank you for looking that up.
That's Jake. Thanks, Jake.
Thanks,
State
Jake.
Farm.
201. Ha! Look at that.
Hey.
Jake wins a whatever.
What is
There's
it? Is it like
paint swatches in here. Those are secret paint swatches. There's, I guess these are the parts, the things that go, the magnet things. Oh yeah. I wonder if we know where any of those.
I remember
locations
3D
are.
printing a hot dog.
Do you remember any of the locations?
No.
Oh, hot
Yeah, but
dog.
there's magnets with reed switches
Oh, there's one.
hot glued on the inside, but you have to get all of them.
Yeah. So there's a thing in there, and there's a shoe and a book.
Like a hat.
Oh, it's
hot
a
dog?
briefcase. I don't see a hot dog.
There was
Is
a
there
hot
more
dog.
in there?
Nope.
Anyway, so once you get all the locations, you get the
Those
code.
paint swatches are for the mural.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
They have 4D design.
And then this thing is the secret answer
Paint swatches that were in
that we never opened.
Huh?
The wax seal on this answer, like the game
Yeah?
thing that you get, we never opened it.
Dope.
Open it. Open it. Open it.
I'll leave it closed.
Okay.
Maybe it's like the Pam and Jim letter on The Office, like no one gets to know what's in it. I don't remember. I wrote it, and I don't remember what's in there. Treasures.
We'll just finish the live stream with you reading it, but not out loud.
Like, open it and cut off.
Dearest Bob.
I think of you often. Yeah, we're gonna leave that in there.
It's
It'll
not
be a
how you spell
mystery.
yearning.
Yearning. Cool. Well, thank you to everybody who's been hanging out today. Sorry we didn't make anything. Next time we do a live stream, we're gonna make something. This one was kind of preparing, amassing the collection for something that we're gonna do with it soon. Next time we'll end up making part of something or working on something or maybe fixing something. I don't know. We're doing live streams every once in a while. We're not gonna do them super often. But it was really awesome to see everybody here today. Thank you for hanging out, for all the questions, for all the feedback. Pretty fantastic. You guys are awesome. And we will see you next week with a new project that I'm really happy with, really proud of. It's a lot of fun. And so we'll see you then.